So it's almost impossible for me to talk about Sonic Forces without briefly going over the roller coaster that was its advertising. We first got introduced with the game along with Sonic Mania in summer of 2016, and a lot of us were hyped given the return to form. Lost World sorta destroyed whatever momentum 3D Sonic had at the time, but now we're back! The setting seemed darker, the scope seemed grand, and Classic was back. For some reason. From there, I wasn't too excited given that I didn't want a Generations 2, but we take what we can get. Generations was good. I could only expect a continuation of it with new levels to be amazing. Then we started seeing footage of the game, a new custom character, and returning staples as well. Forces marketed itself very strangely. For the longest, we only got to see one modern stage, an avatar stage that didn't look fun, and classic Sonic and Green Hill. You know my opinions on that. Why on earth would that get me or anyone else excited for Sonic Forces? To make matters worse, the moment they revealed another classic stage, it revealed how much of a step down classic Sonic was in comparison to Sonic Generations or Sonic Mania, a game that released months before. Also, the music, though very subjective, didn't really appeal to me with each release. I was proud to see vocal themes return, but something about the EDM-inspired soundtrack didn't quite appeal to me. Sonic Forces was just a game I didn't see any soul in. I didn't feel any sort of hype with the game going into it. For a new 3D Sonic game, I talked about it way less than I expected to. I even questioned, is Sonic Forces proof that I'm completely growing out of Sonic? These were real thoughts I had. Most of my friends in this fandom had no real interest either. I didn't care for any of the trailers, the stages seemed dull, and it appeared as though Sega didn't want to promote this game. Almost like they were nervous. What interested me the most was playable Shadow and the new villain, Infinite. Shadow because it could possibly open the door for other characters in the future, and Infinite because I'm always curious to see how a new character is portrayed in their debut. Sometimes it can be handled great, other times horribly. It became so obvious that the game was marketed this way in order to surprise players, which I have no issue with. With Sonic Generations, Sega spoiled the entire game, like officially in trailers. Mania kept most of its content a secret, and Forces wanted to do the same. But if Forces was going to do this, the game had to be great. Otherwise, the marketing will just look awful in retrospect and the game will be that much more embarrassing.
Still not used to saying that. Whatever it is, it's got them running its feet.
On launch, I picked up Sonic Forces for Xbox One. A lot of people got offended by that for some reason. I don't know why. It's one of the better versions. And here we are. How is it? Did it live up to my medium expectations? By now, I'm sure you've seen plenty of Sonic Forces reviews and opinions, so you should know that Forces is mixed as hell with people. This is very easy to understand for reasons I'll get into, but truthfully, I didn't think it was bad. I would even go as far as saying I kinda liked Sonic Forces. Maybe part of it had to do with it being 5 years since the last Boost game, but there are indeed positives in this game. The first being the story, easily the best Sonic plot we've had since Unleashed. So definitely the greatest story the new voice cast has been a part of, and they kill it in this game. It's so crazy to think that we've been with this cast longer than any other, and just experiencing my growth from hating a lot of the voices to accepting them here is just great. I'm not going to summarize the story, and it's certainly not perfect, no Sonic story is, but it kind of proved that the modern games can have plots, and a lot of scenes took me back to like 2004. The first scene with Silver threw me off because of how good it was. I almost forgot this was a modern Sonic game. This is probably because Sonic wasn't in the scene, but seeing all of the characters interact without any forced jokes just felt right. It felt 3D Sonic to me. The game wasn't too serious or anything, and yeah, I liked the scene and the story more than I thought I would. Again, it's not perfect because when it disappoints, it surely does. For one, Tails. Good f***ing lord, what happened to you?
Whoa, chaos! Sonic, help me!
I could not believe this scene. I could not believe someone wrote that in the script. This has been a thing for a few games now, but why is Tails such a bitch now? He's scared to fight a few robots? He cries for help when confronting Chaos Zero? It's Chaos 0. You defeated 4, no problem. This is Tails we're talking about. A lot of younger fans may not know, but Tails was badass at one point. He defeated an entire army in Tails Adventure, he saved Station Square in Sonic Adventure, and did so much more in Adventure 2. I can't see how any fan of Tails could defend this. It's such a bastardization of a character. Like, why is this a character? Why do we need Tails at this point in time if this is what he's going to be? Spent way too much time on that, but that scene just bothered me so hard. In regards to the other characters, Knuckles was pretty damn good. I like that they made him the Resistance leader. I mean, if it was going to be anyone other than Sonic, I'm sure it would be Knuckles. It certainly wouldn't be f***ing Tails. Nobody's really not an idiot in this game, and I think the creators really took note of what people were saying about him. I enjoyed seeing Rouge again, and we got to hear more of her voice along with Silver, though I refuse to believe she would call Knuckles boss in any situation. I mean, just come on. The characters actually did things, something I wanted given the premise of the game. Another negative with the plot is certainly the climax. Infinite, being one of the most talked about and interesting parts of the game, just kinda goes away. His backstory, who cares? He doesn't have nearly as much depth as many predicted. I saw one theory about how Infinite and the custom hero were once friends and the Phantom Ruby took over Infinite and is super in-depth. None of that is here. He's just some random guy who turns bad. Once you beat him, he flies away almost in this open-ended sort of way. He was a less cool, less menacing Mephiles. Wow, talk about disappointment. The other modern games had me wanting to skip the cutscenes, and that wasn't the case here. I was almost looking forward to what would happen next. Who was going to be in the next scene, and how will this play out? Is it amazing? No, it's not an Unleashed, it's not a SA2, but it didn't disappoint me because I didn't have high expectations. The ending scene is very Sonic Heroes, and so is the confrontation scene, which made me happy admittedly. And I completely loved the post-credit scene with Custom Hero and Sonic. Just felt really Sonic, something that would have happened around 2005. In fact, I thought of Sonic Riders. The story is good, a positive for Sonic Forces. So, the game. You know, the controversial part. Sonic Forces is divided into 4 gameplay styles: Boost, Classic, Custom Hero, and Tag. But you're mainly going to be focusing on the first 3. Before I go into the control and such, which is a huge talking point with the game, I want to say Sonic Forces is a game you truly have to play for yourself to understand. That can be applied to any game, but Forces is so uniquely different from the other Boost games that in order to understand where I and a lot of people are coming from, you have to play the game. Modern is quite different this time around, for better or for worse. By far, he's the best part of the game, but does that say much? He has the double jump from colors, but the drift is nowhere to be seen. I guess that means Modern finally controls good? Well, no. Now, a lot of modern stages are fun, very short and very automated, but also fun. Seeing Sonic blast through things really fast is something we're used to, but what keeps it sorta interesting are the beautiful environments. I mean that too, this game looks gorgeous. A lot of colors pop out at you. The whole time I was super invested into the look of the game. Infinite's weird red cube stuff was visually pleasing to me, and the 60 FPS was just great. If you can only get the game on Switch, I understand, but I recommend trying a version with the better frames because it just adds to the experience. Okay, back to Modern. His stages are fun and easily the best gameplay of the game. I don't like how he randomly accelerates at times, and not having the drift is so weird with this control. Like Sonic moves by himself at moments, it just felt inconsistent for me. His on-ground movement is better and is only highlighted in the Zavik boss fight. I mean, that was like some Sonic Hero stuff. Fully 3D, I'm totally down for that. The Egg Gate stage, oh my god, this is what I wanted Sonic Colors to be. Just a really fun Boost game in space, and that's what I got with this stage. Metropolitan Highway, just as amazing, visually one of my favorite Sonic stages ever. It just looks so great and shows that we can have new stages. Sonic has done everything at this point, but there are things you can do to make traditional environments new, and this stage is proof of it. It's a futuristic city, which is nothing new, but the completely white color scheme and details make it feel fresh, especially since we haven't had a stage like this with Modern. When I said he didn't control good, it just doesn't feel natural to me. Some of the controls felt unresponsive, especially the sidestep. In this level, for some reason, I constantly died because my sidestep wouldn't always work. so I had to not boost in certain spots and repeatedly mash LB and RB for it to work. It wasn't just me either, I know a few others who found Modern quite unresponsive and inconsistent. The avatar was pretty off too, just like I thought it'd be. He wasn't awful, but the stages didn't do much for me. I think he's implemented pretty well story-wise. He's basically the rookie who has to prove himself, and they play it up in the stages as well. But his control isn't always there for me. This stage in particular, I hated. If only for the platforming. I died about 11 times on this one part alone, because his jump and acceleration does not work good here. It's so damn easy to screw up, and it doesn't look that way when you're watching it, which is why you have to play this game to understand. Force's control's so weird, and so different from Generations. This is even further highlighted with Classic, but to wrap up the avatar, he's just okay. The Modern-esque gameplay just feels so unrewarding without the boost. The Wispins or weapons can be fun to switch up with, my personal favorites being the drill and the fire one you start out with. But the custom hero is more entertaining in the fact that it's your customizable character rather than his actual stages. Classic Sonic. Now, he was the one who tore people apart when the game got revealed. Why was he back? What's the reason? Why not just use another character instead of another Sonic? All completely fair and reasonable questions, and I wouldn't mind it too much as long as this portion was fun and added to the game. He does neither. There's no reason for him to be here. The story can try to tie it in with Mania for no reason all at once. He isn't built for this game, and the creators know this. He does not fit anywhere. They try to build this pointless friendship between Classic and Tails. It goes nowhere. You never buy this shit, and it's not sad at all when he leaves. He goes back to his dimension because that's a thing now. Like, what does that even do to games like Sonic Adventure or even Sonic Generations? Like, what's canon now? How did Sonic meet Knuckles and Amy? What's the new backstory now? Why is the old design of Sonic a new recurring character in the 3D series? What even is this? How do you explain this mess to anyone who's not a Sonic fan? Like, Sonic Team loves ruining the legacies of their good games. Shadow the Hedgehog added an entire unnecessary perspective on Adventure 2's plot, making the Dreamcast storyline look infinitely darker than it was. Sonic 4 completely screwed up continuity and made no sense as a follow-up to CD or 3 Knuckles. The more they bring back the Wisps for no reason, the less unique and special Sonic Colors looks in the lineup. And now, the ending to Generations, which was fine and made sense, now makes no sense. His stages are randomly thrown in with little to no explanation, and it's clear he's only in the game because, hey, people like Classic, Generations got good reviews, let's just do that again, confusing our audience once more by making 2 playable Sonics. People do not play Classic Sonic for the same reasons they play Modern. Keep them separate. It's not rocket science. This is only hurting the legacy of both. Stop this Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic BS. This series is called Sonic the Hedgehog. If you want the 3D design of Sonic, you play a 3D game. If you want the old design of Sonic, you play the 2D games. It's that simple. Oh my god. You may be thinking, wow, that's harsh, but I stress this even more now because Classic Sonic is god-awful in this game. His momentum is all screwed up, he doesn't always bounce on enemies, he's very heavy, his jump has no sense of direction at times, and sure, the drop dash is cool, but who cares when the stages are so poor? This is an embarrassing follow-up to a Sonic Generations gameplay. Literally nothing about Classic Sonic in this game is better than what was in Generations, a game released 5 years ago. His stages were so sloppy, so careless, and felt so damn forced. The time making these crappy stages could have easily went somewhere else. If you can't make something work, then don't unnecessarily put it in the game. It's not that hard to understand. I stand by the fact that this game could have just been Modern and Custom Hero. It would have made for a better plot, better flow, and less confusing structure. Again, watching footage will not help your case. Play the game. If you like it, fine, everyone adapts differently. But for me, this was a very poor excuse for added gameplay. I don't want to touch too much on the tag levels, I mean it's basically Sonic and Custom Hero. If you know both gameplay styles, you know what you're getting into. I wish the stages were a bit more creative given the idea, but they are what they are. Just looking at this game from how it was structured, it doesn't even remind me of Sonic Generations. Before the game released, it seemed so obviously Generations influenced to the point of many people calling it Sonic Generations 2. Well, it's not, and I was surprised. I don't know how many believe this, but Sonic Forces reminds me the most of Sonic Adventure 2. This game really wants to be Sonic Adventure 2. There are 3 core gameplay styles that are pretty different. No hub world, so world map, though similar to Unleashed, also reminded me of SA2's. A dark new villain, the structure going stage to stage randomly, which I love. If you guys remember my Dream video, I like when Sonic games do that. And stages taking place in similar environments. In SA2, there was a desert area, city, space, tropical island. Same exact thing here. It's kinda weird. Sonic Forces really takes notes from the Dreamcast era, and a lot of people might overlook it. The whole time I was just reminded of SA2, if SA2 took place in the modern games. This is how they would handle it. Granted, this game is nowhere near as good as SA2 and anything, and a lot of what makes that game great is not present in Forces. But the similarities are very striking. It even has tons of major set pieces in the stages, like something from that era. The giant snake sorta reminded me of the giant alligator from Sonic Heroes. I like the attempt to make this game stand out amongst the other Boost games. The stages are just not enough for me. A big issue with Sonic Forces are the stages, and the fact that they're so damn short. I didn't even talk about this yet, but Sonic Forces has some of the shortest damn stages in the entire series. I mean that. I talked about how much I loved Eggate, but I can't deny the disappointment I had when the stage ended so abruptly. Look at Kobe's reaction here.
Yo, let's go. Skydive down. Skadoosh! And that's it. Wow.
That's how you're going to be feeling with most, if not all of the stages in Sonic Forces. It's... wow. The more you really just look at this game, the more you question how this game took so long to release. I expected the most polished, grand experience given the amount of time spent on it. And though I don't know everything that goes into game development, and certainly wouldn't want to disrespect the process, I just want to know how this is the game we got. I don't think Forces is bad, but Generations seem to have taken less time to create and is the better game. Like, they focused on making everything outside the gameplay better, and had so much confidence in the fact that good gameplay styles were returning, and forgot to make them play good or build grand levels around them. It's the most important part of the game. The gameplay of Sonic Forces is just disappointing to me. Over time, people will get used to it, but I didn't have all of these complaints with Sonic Generations because the stages worked beautifully with the character's control. This game had no reason not to be better, and it wasn't. Even the stage select bothers me. The world map, like I said...
You can totally ignore this part. I actually didn't know that you could press the Y button to open a list of stages, making it that much more easier. And the stages are actually color-coded for the characters. I didn't know that at all, so just ignore this.
Now, I don't want to be totally negative, so let me go into a few more positives. The character customization totally lives up to its hype. It's amazing. I love all the outfits. Definitely reminds me of all of those old Flash games from back in the day. The avatar creation is easily one of the best parts about Forces. The only downfall being no echidnas. I mean, it makes sense, but you know, I have feelings. The boss fights were sort of fun to me as well, and some were surprisingly fully 3D. The Avatar's final boss and Zavok's boss fight really felt like some adventure era stuff. It was really cool playing the Sonic boss in 3D again. Anytime I get to beat the hell out of Zavok, I'm having a good time. Infinite's boss fights were fine, the modern one was really easy, but I like the visuals a lot. Hated the Avatars for the simple fact that he doesn't control that well. When you're dodging Infinite's attacks, your character could accelerate too much and run into them. I died 4 times here. It wasn't fun. I know people dislike the final boss for being lazy, but I liked it. In fact, I think it's the most fun final boss since 06 or SA2. I mean that, I went into Forces expecting a bad final boss like the other modern games, but no, I liked this one a lot. The Avatars portion was a bit stupid at first, but after a while it became fun to play. The last phase was the typical Colors Lost World boss, but visually it was pretty damn cool. And for some reason, despite hating it in Lost World, I didn't have too many issues with it here. Lazy, of course, but all 3 put together was a cool experience. I haven't touched on or even played all the extra missions you can do throughout, but it does add replay value to this extremely short game. Episode Shadow was a cool addition. I loved playing as the guy again, and I loved the way he was portrayed in this game. He wasn't a villain, he was just a cool ally, which made sense. I also can't get enough of Team Dark interacting with one another. Great stuff. So how do I conclude this? Well, Sonic Forces is not a bad game, but I honestly don't know how good of a game it is either. It has everything it needs to be the best boost game, but it lacks in the gameplay. The stages don't have much going for them, no one controls good in Sonic Forces, it's amazing, it's unreal. The story, though good for modern Sonic standards, feels very rushed, especially the ending. Again, Infinite just fails and flies away. The fact that he's not a very difficult or fun character to fight against only makes him less of a threat. Chaos doesn't even do anything either, like why did Chaos even have to be in this game? Yeah, he looked cool, but why? And the final phase of the game has so many false endings as well. I swear I thought the game was over so many times, but it still managed to feel rushed. It also annoyed me how this big climactic finish had you jumping back and forth from the world map to the game. Like, just keep it going. Like, it felt so deconstructed every time it did that. Like, yeah, it takes 2 seconds to jump back into the game, but it just, like, why not just keep it going? It's like, why? It seems as if the creators didn't know how they wanted to end the game and had multiple endings for it, which is why it feels so open-ended. I don't know why the last few modern games have had issues with this. Lost World's conclusion didn't feel satisfying, and neither does Forces. They even hint towards Classic reappearing, which, good luck with that. No one will be wanting Classic in the modern games after Forces. The fans and critics have made that loud and clear. Classic Sonic's spot, in my opinion, should have been Infinite. Sure, it would have taken effort to make another gameplay style, but it would have been much more interesting to see his perspective. Since the game borrows from SA2, I think this was a missed opportunity to capture another cool thing about that game. Rather than just 3 heroes going against the bad guys, you have 2 heroes and the villain. That's how I would have handled it anyway. The music didn't impress me at first, but in-game it sounds pretty cool. And I knew that would happen, it always does. It's not a soundtrack I love, but definitely not bad, and it's refreshing to hear female vocals this time around. I don't think there's a sound test sadly, so I don't remember any of the tracks. I swear the Imperial Tower theme sounds like one of those techno AMV tracks you'd hear back when MySpace was super popular.
The sun is falling in the sky beyond, and light is fading from our world. Now's the time of rain.
The credits theme was very odd. I'm not sure if it really fits anything. It sounds like something I'd hear at Macy's or Kohl's. This game will have one of the most interesting legacies. It will definitely be remembered and replayed for the character creation, and the more serious story might also stick with people. But honestly, that's probably it. Sonic Forces definitely has an identity, but there aren't too many reasons for me to go back to it. The stages are just too short. There's not much outside of modern I enjoy or can even consider good. This is a complaint people have with Adventure 2, but those gameplay styles, though divisive, I think worked with the stages and had depth to them. You could give me extra missions for Death Chamber or Cosmic Wall and I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. With Sonic Forces, I don't feel there's enough here no matter how much the game wants you to believe there is. The returning stages are also one of the many things that hurt Sonic Forces, because it kills the small identity this game has. The Avatar is the new, unique thing about Forces, the main reason I could possibly recommend this game. Without the character creation, Sonic Forces is probably the most pointless 3D Sonic game to date. Yes, even more than Shadow. I'm serious, take that out and you have an inferior Sonic Generations with a handful of new stages. If you don't care for the Avatar, you're better off just playing Generations. There's nothing here that's so mind-blowing that you have to pick up Sonic Forces for, unless you just need to play with Shadow and you don't have access to Generations mods. I think a lot of kids will love this game, since it does hold your hand a lot and the custom hero will relate to them a lot more, since it's you running alongside Sonic. Reminds me of Chris and Sonic X, only with your character, and less annoying. It's a great game to grow up with, and maybe someone's SA2 or 3 and Knuckles, who knows. Where the series goes from here is a mystery. Forces tried to dwell into serious territory. It introduced a new gameplay style and gave us playable Shadow. Will the series try to expand on that and make great levels next time? Or will they go completely left field and drop some experimental game on us, like Lost World? I mean, it fit the pattern. Personally, I had so much fun playing the 3D parts of Forces, so I'd love to see the 3D adventure gameplay return. I mean, it's no surprise, I've always preferred the gameplay since it's not a straight line. I can explore the stage and actually have control of the character, but the boost certainly wouldn't be bad either, since we've seen it work in Sonic Generations. Unfortunately, this game wasn't the one to perfect it. Maybe next time. Do I like it more than the other boost games? Well, it's too early to say. I have no idea where I'd place this one. Because I like it, at times it's a fun game, just not very good. Only time will tell with Sonic Forces. Only time will tell. You know, maybe I would have loved the game more if I used the controller skin. It looks kind of stupid, but maybe that just instantly changes the game. I should try that. Okay, I'm gonna put this on. Let's go. You know, I'm looking at it now. It does look pretty stupid, and I kind of like my controller just the way it is. So I'm just not gonna do that. But let me know if it works, guys. You just try it yourself. Let me know if you get better results. That'd be amazing. Just let me know. I'd love to know.